Welcome to Heaven Touches Earth. True stories of miracles, angelic encounters, and divine interventions that defy explanation. Each episode brings you a real-life account of something extraordinary, a moment when the veil between heaven and earth seemed to lift. In a world full of chaos and noise, sometimes we need to remember that we are not alone, that something greater is at work in the unseen. Today's story takes us to a remote stretch of highway in Washington state, where one woman found herself face to face with the impossible. This is the Fireman in the Flames. It was a quiet Sunday morning in late October. The sun had just begun to rise over the evergreens that line the two-lane road. There was a chill in the air, and the sky held that pale blue hue that comes just before full daylight. Liz Thompson, a 29-year-old office manager from Kennewick, was on her way home after spending the weekend visiting her mother in Spokane. She had made the trip dozens of times before, the kind of route you know so well you stop noticing the landmarks. She had the radio on low and a cup of coffee on the console. Life felt normal, maybe even peaceful. She was thinking about her to-do list for the week. A work meeting on Tuesday, a friend's baby shower that Saturday. Just past mile marker 213, everything changed. Coming in the opposite direction was a large, dark-colored pickup truck. For reasons no one can explain, maybe fatigue, maybe a distraction, the truck crossed the center line. Liz saw it a second too late. There was a deafening crash. The impact spun her car across the road like a toy. It slammed into a tree at high speed, the metal twisting like foil. Then the fire started. The engine compartment, already crumpled from the crash, ignited quickly. Flames licked up through the dashboard vents. Smoke poured in through the air ducts. The airbags had deployed and Liz was dazed, disoriented. Her hands shook as she reached for the door handle, but it was jammed. She pressed the seatbelt release, but it wouldn't budge. The cabin grew hotter by the second. Her lungs burned from the smoke. Her eyes stung. The noise of the fire was overwhelming, a crackling roar that seemed to consume everything. In that moment, as panic closed in, Liz did something that she hadn't done in years. She prayed. Not a long prayer, not eloquent, just a desperate whisper to heaven, a cry for help from a heart that didn't want to die. And then someone was there. Out of the thick, blinding smoke, a figure appeared at her window. She couldn't see his face clearly, but she saw the silhouette, tall, broad-shouldered, steady. He wore what looked like firefighter's gear, helmet, coat, gloves, but the details seemed almost to shimmer through the smoke. Without hesitation, he reached into the car. With one motion, he popped the seatbelt free and pulled open the door, which until moments earlier had been jammed shut. He lifted Liz from the car with ease and carried her across the gravel shoulder to a patch of grass. She felt the wind on her face, the coolness of the earth, and then everything went black. When she woke up, she was lying on a stretcher. An oxygen mask covered her mouth, and emergency responders were checking her pulse. Her first words were simple, "Where's the fireman?" But the EMTs looked at her with confusion. They told her they were the first to arrive. There had been no one else on scene. No other vehicles, no other responders, no firemen. The road had been empty when they pulled up. They had spotted her lying just off the shoulder, alone. Liz insisted. She described him in detail, the gear, the calmness, the strength. But there were no footprints, no tire marks. No one matching that description was seen by anyone else that day. The fire department confirmed they had not dispatched anyone to that area. No nearby stations had sent units. No volunteer firefighters had reported being in the vicinity. There was simply no explanation. In the days that followed, Liz tried to find answers. She posted in local forums. She called departments. She asked around, hoping someone would come forward. No one did. 1 month later, Liz returned to the site of the crash. It was quiet that morning. The wind moved gently through the trees. The charred marks from the fire were still faintly visible on the bark of the tree she'd hit. And then she saw it. Nailed to an old fence post just off the road was a small wooden cross. It hadn't been there before. On the front, written in weathered black ink, were the words, "He will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Psalms 91:11. Liz stood in silence, overcome. She didn't need any more proof. She didn't need to rationalize it. She knew, deep in her spirit, that she hadn't been saved by chance. She had been rescued by something or someone sent from above. Today, Liz shares her story, not to convince skeptics or argue theology. She shares it as a reminder that when life is at its darkest, when the fire surrounds us and there seems to be no way out, help may come, and it may not look like what we expect. Sometimes it's a stranger, sometimes it's a voice, and sometimes it's a fireman who walks through flame and disappears without a trace. Thank you for joining us for Heaven Touches Earth. If you've experienced something miraculous, a rescue, a voice, a presence you can't explain, we'd love to hear your story. Leave it in the comments and subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with someone who might need a reminder that they are never alone. There is more to this world than we see, and sometimes, just sometimes, heaven touches earth. Until next time, stay open, stay watchful, and never stop believing.